Welcome back to Cephas Unscripted. Today we've only got Casual Bars Rugby and Brett Burns. Bria van Herp's feeling a bit under the weather, you know. Six Nations, Brett, done and dusted. First and foremost, people, if you do like the channel, even if you hate the channel, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. Brett, Six Nations, done and dusted. As a whole, we'll get into more depth with it all. As a whole, satisfied with it all?
Yeah, as we called it in the beginning, it's going to be a predictable winner. Obviously, the last two weekends, we thought that, okay, maybe they're going to spice it up for us a bit, and Ireland might not win the Six Nations. But at the end of the day, it came down to exactly what we expected. As you can see at the back here, Ireland taking the Six Nations. The only upset was that Italy didn't take the wooden spoon.
Yeah, well, we're not upset about that. It's just an upset, yeah. Overall, I think at the start, I think there was merit behind us saying it was very predictable, right? And we got a lot of flack for it, but like most of our predictions were right, even the margins with it all. But I think the last two weekends really spiced it up and made it a bit more interesting, even though the results kind of still went the way that we predicted in the final weekend. We still had some good games of rugby. We talk about how close Ireland took Scotland. Scotland took Ireland. Look at the close game between France and England. Look at the scintillating game that we had between Wales and Italy. So I think the last two weekends really showed what the Six Nations can bring and how close these teams can be to each other if they actually pitch up. The big issue that we kind of had with the Six Nations were that there's only like one team that really pitched up to actually come out and play rugby. So in this video, people, we'll focus on every single team, look at how they performed throughout the Six Nations, what were the positives, the negatives, and then look forward to the rest when it comes to 2024 for that international team. So let's start off with the team that there's a lot of hype around at the moment, and that is Italy. Beating Wales yesterday, 2 days ago, because we're posting this on Monday, but scintillating performance from them. The scoreline really flatters Wales, in my opinion. Obviously, two consolation tries almost at the end. But Italy, wow, what a Six Nations for them. Best ever placement, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it?
Yes, that is their best. It's tied with their best. They've come second last before, but it's their best performance because they drew against France and then they beat Wales. That's the best achievement that they've had. But what annoys me about it is that the fans are acting as if they won the whole tournament. I get that it's a great achievement, but I mean, yeah, it's nothing to write home about.
Yeah, fair. To be fair, I think they deserve to place higher than what was it, fifth place, because they played some good rugby. I went throughout the whole tournament and said Wales has been the second most impressive team, but they really started dropping off like insanely in terms of performances. And Italy really picked up, right? They were good at the start against England, then they got smashed by Ireland, but there were still some positives in terms of defense to take. And then from that Ireland game, they kind of just like mixed the two together and really built a solid team. I mean, they should have beat France. They could have beat, they did beat Scotland. They did beat Wales. They really pulled England very close. So I think overall they deserve to be higher than fifth place, at least fourth place. But yeah, that's a story for another day. I think if you look at going forward from them, do you think this is the step in the right direction that they needed? Or from this, do they just fall off once again?
No, I think that this is exactly what they needed. I think they got the combinations right. They got a good youth of players now going forward for, say, the next 3 or 4 years. I just don't want them to get cocky about it. Like, stay the humble team that everybody likes and loves. And if you're going to start winning games, just take it on the chin and move on to the next one. It's actually, for me, it's a bit disgusting to see when teams, you are the laughing stock of the tournament for the last however many years. You get off last place to second last, and now you think that it's the be-all and end-all. That just annoys me a bit about this team currently, because they've never been like that. They didn't even make this scene when they beat the Springboks. I mean, it's quite unheard of. So
just the thing is, like, they kind of, as you mentioned, it's the thing, like, you kind of are going from that team that everyone wants to win, not getting in the wooden spoon. So we say congratulations for not getting the wooden spoon, and then acting like this way, where we kind of like switch it. So it's the same thing, but it's like we say it's only you didn't win the wooden spoon. You only came fifth. Like it's still
Mm,
shit. It's
exactly.
just a switch of how people perceive you. So stay humble. Be the team that we all love and adore, because we all love the Italian story. We all want Italy to be good. We love the passion that Italy brings to rugby. But don't start to get cocky just because there is caveat behind some of these performances. Like it's the worst Wales team that we've seen in like forever. It is probably the biggest drop off in rugby. Team France that they pulled close. Now I know they pulled them close last season, but this time around, France was shocking. You still
Yeah.
got battered by Ireland, so it's easy to just switch the narrative, right? So just stay in your lane, and you just build and build and build, and then you are a team that everyone starts to respect. We like I still love Italy, but I get what you're saying because it did
Mm.
get a bit out of hand at certain points where it's like I saw in the comment sections of our other social medias, people are like, "Is it time to start questioning Wales's position in the Six Nations?" And I'm like, dude, like Italy is still in the Six Nations after getting the wooden spoon literally almost every single year. Wales gets it once, and people say, "Listen, is it time to start questioning them?" Like, are you being
Exactly.
serious? Like, stop that. That is absolute rubbish. But well done to Italy. They have had a solid Six Nations, and I really hope that this is the step forward that they need, because there's been a couple of times where we think Italy, they've kind of broken that voodoo of being shit and then kind of like they can build on it, but then they just drop back, right? Like just before the
Yeah.
World Cup. So now that we want them to build up and keep going. Moving on to the team they played against, we got Wales. Brett, just take us away. What was your thoughts on Wales?
Uh, you actually summed it up quite well in the beginning of the video that we thought that Wales was going to have a surprisingly good tournament. Like they
Especially
had
after the World
some,
Cup, right?
yeah, exactly, and it's a bit shocking for me. Like watching that game against Italy, specifically that game, was probably one of the worst performances I've ever seen from a Welsh side. And
Yeah.
that's after all their players had retired and they went through that massive slump. This was worse. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw the score at 18-0 at one stage.
Yeah.
And yet the Welsh, like you said, we thought that they might actually do better than they were. So I'm a bit shocked with this Welsh side, especially considering I actually read today that Warren Gatland actually put in his resignation, or he asked if he needs to resign. Um, and then the Welsh Rugby Union said, nope, you're not going anywhere. So they still have 100% faith in the Oak, which is great for him. But he actually said, must I resign? And they
Yeah.
said no.
Well, just before I give my point of view, what would you have done? Do you back Warren Gatland with Wales, or do you think it's time for change for them?
I've always thought it was time for change. I thought Warren Gatland has one too many British and Irish Lions tours. I think he has 4 seasons too many with Wales. I when he made his move back to Super Rugby in New Zealand, I thought, okay, this could be good for him. But then he failed horribly over there, and came back to Wales, and now he's on a downslope. I think he needs to go coach a URC team or something. But I don't think they're good fits anymore. Personally, I know you feel differently. I know you're a bit of a
Not
Gatland
not
fan,
totally
but
differently, kind of, but yeah, I get
yeah,
what you
so
mean. So,
yeah,
so my point of view on it is, I would spot a coach, right, that Gatlin can take under his wing. You give Gatlin 1 more year, or let's say at most 2 more years. Where Gatlin can bring some of his experience, because he's a good coach. Like he still got some performances out of the Welsh team. Look how shit Wales were before he came back, right? Before the World Cup, we have to remember what he did with this Welsh team into the World Cup. Get a younger coach or someone and take him under his wing, learn some of what Gatlin has to offer, and then you ship Gatlin off. Respectfully, you can say, listen, okay, he's taking over. Gatlin, we thank you for your services. Whatever happens with Wales, you're not coming back now, right? Because I
mm,
do think Gatlin gets the best out of what they have. I don't think he's the best coach, but it's like you can't think of Wales without Gatlin. That's just
yeah.
my opinion on the matter. That's why I'm saying, like, get someone that Gatlin has spotted that he thinks will be a great coach because he's out of his depth now, that he thinks can take over and can take Wales further because it is a young team. You can't have a young team and a young coach as well. Like, it's just a total blend of mess thing. So I think with a new coach, also with Gatlin involved, kind of like almost Rassie and Ninaber, but then you just like gets him up to speed with everything, and then you just move him on. And as you said, listen, we thought the performances were there, but they're not getting the results, and we predicted them to get one or two upset victories, right? And it just never came, and the performances just got worse and worse and worse. I think the morale totally broke down after having decent performances but not getting anything from it. And yesterday or Saturday was one of the worst performances, not from Wales, but that I've ever seen a team put out on the field. As good as Italy were, that's how bad Wales were. Because we have a rugby community group chat where we talk, and I kept on hammering on the point that I think Costello is the worst 10 in the world at the moment. Like, the mistakes that guy makes consistently really irks me. What would
Yes,
you do?
I agree. I'm a fly-off, and I felt, I was thinking to myself, I'm a 35-year-old fly-off. I think if Wales has to put me in that team, I'll shine. I'll do so much better than this oak. And I'm an amateur player. That's how bad I think he played. Well, he's been playing. I mean, look at his kicking, his passing. Everything is just takes the ball on the back foot. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I only actually noticed it when you pointed it out, because I was thinking, okay, the whole Welsh team is playing poorly, until you start pointing it out. And then I thought to myself, oh, wow, this is actually, he's got a point. So
Yeah.
I agree.
How do you think the performances increase a lot getting Anscombe back into that squad?
Yeah, if you obviously heard the commentators yesterday, or when
Yeah.
they played, where everyone wants Anscombe to come back. So yes, I think it does improve them. But what about what's his name? He plays for the Highlanders now, the ginger from Wales.
Reese is it?
I forget,
I
but
completely.
he's having a bloody good season in New Zealand. So I think
I'm
I
getting
think
the
he,
name now. You can keep on going.
yeah, I think he needs to come back because
Reese
um,
Patchell.
yes, Reese Patchell. So I think they need him back, and they need as Anscombe back. The two of them together in the squad. Like remember back in the day when it was a James Hook and what's the name coming through the ranks? Dan Bigger. When he
Yeah.
just came through the ranks and James Hook was still number one. They need one of those again, because like we said in a previous episode, tens for Wales has been quite significant over the years, and then you get this oak.
Yeah. Like the whole game revolves around the 10 because they play a lot of the kicking game and they play a lot of the physical game, and they've lost so much physicality. They got smashed by Italy physically yesterday in the scrums and everything. Like, I think there was about 4 scrum penalties awarded for Italy, which is absolutely crazy against a team that's known for physicality. So they need their fly off to at least control the game with his kicking or his passing. I couldn't see Costello putting anything together. Like, the backline didn't know where to go with the ball. And that is something that Reece Patchell has been offering for the Highlanders. Now, I know one's in New Zealand, so they play backline and stuff. But if you have such a young team, you kind of need experience to run the game. You can't have all that inexperience and have an inexperienced fly off as well. So just looking forward, we'll just quickly run through it. They're playing against Wales, against the Wallabies in July. And I know the Wallabies hasn't been great, but we spoke about Joe Smith maybe being able to pull something together with the Wallabies team, especially looking at the Reds at the moment. Look at the Reds; they are firing at all cylinders. They're looking outstanding. So obviously we don't know what the Wallabies look like, but do you think Wales can perform to any degree against the Wallabies traveling there to Sydney?
So I think it's going to be arguably one of the worst series if we're going on current form, from what we've seen from Australia and what we've seen from Wales. Obviously, fortunately for Australia, they got a new coach, um, and it's going to be a whole new ball game when they go forward. But I cannot see Wales causing any sort of upsets. I think it's going to be
Yeah.
a series whitewash to Australia. Um, so I find it's going to be very tough for Wales going to Australia.
Yeah, like obviously this isn't an Australian video, but I think Joe Smith will be the guy that picks the right players in the right positions, which hasn't been done in the last 2 seasons for them. If you look at the likes of some of the guys at the Rebels, outstanding form, that Andrew Kellaway at fullback. Look at the Reds; they are firing as I just mentioned. So the Australian teams, like the Australian franchises, are looking very good at the moment. Some of them still struggling, but overall they have been decent. Like it's not as if the New Zealand teams are just running riot in the Super Rugby at the moment. So it's going to be very interesting to see the Wallabies team that we get, and I can't see this Welsh team doing anything going there because we know it's tough to get victories in Australia. South Africa would know. We haven't won in Australia. We didn't win in Australia for years before. When was it? Like
Last year.
2 seasons ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving on to, we got the title winners, right? We've got the Irish. There's a lot of Irish fans on this channel as well. Um, Definitely deserved to win the Six Nations. Obviously, game was quite close yesterday against the Scottish. Do you think it's a deserved victory? Do you think they should have pulled their socks up a bit more for this game, or what happened yesterday?
I was extremely impressed with the Scottish defense. I'm not going to lie. Over 200 tackles. That's almost unheard of in a test match. I just couldn't believe my eyes that this Scottish side is doing everything in their power to keep Ireland out. And their biggest downfall was they were so focused on keeping Ireland out, they kept themselves out too. Because until the Hugh Jones try, I didn't see any attacking flair. I didn't see any really like wit and grit to get over that line. So I think that it's warranted that Ireland should have won that game, yes. But I think Scotland could have won that game if they just changed tactics a little bit more.
Yeah. Do you think Ireland maybe in the back of their mind already said, okay, we have it one and dusted, we have it done and dusted. We've got the championship. We only need to get 1 point out of this whole game. So they were a bit lackluster, or do you all just think that has to go as credit to Scotland in terms of the defense for that game?
Yeah, if you know Andy Farrell, there's no chance that he would have said, "Guys, we have this. We just need 1 point." The intent was clear that they went for the 4 tries. The intent was clear that they wanted to pull the same result that they did in the World Cup. Everything was there for Ireland to give a proper hammering, and it obviously the Scots did their homework with their defensive patterns and their bit of rush defense and also their folding defense. So I'd give more credit to Scotland than to Ireland in terms of Scotland wanted to defend that game as best they could, but no, I don't think that Ireland really saw themselves as victors before they were victors, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, so let's move on to the big talking point, and this is where we actually get involved, right? How does your confidence feel going up against Ireland? Has it increased seeing the last 2 weekends, or do you still fear them like a bit? What is your thoughts going into that two test that we have against the Irish?
Oh, glad you asked, because judging on that performance alone, we all know that South Africa's defense is pretty solid, and we proved it in the World Cup. And I think South Africa's defense is significantly better than the best Scottish defense that they could have ever put out. But South Africa can also attack. And South Africa has prolific goal kickers. And South Africa has two wings that love to score tries. And I can't see. I'm going to say it, but I can't see Ireland getting close to South Africa. I think I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. It's going to be a 2-0 series whitewash to South Africa. And if Ireland comes to South Africa with a mentality that they did against England and against Scotland, they got a big surprise coming.
Yeah, like I don't mean this in a cocky way. Like if Ireland play the way they did in the past 2 weekends, like especially the past 2 weekends, they they are going to be in for a hammering against South Africa because, as you mentioned, Scotland focused so much on defense they didn't focus on attack. We've always just focused on defense and we've just increased our attack every time, every time, every time. Like it's
Yeah.
not gonna nullify our attacking rugby. Look at the way that we played against France in that quarterfinal, right? We were on the ropes for a bit, but then somehow we so clinical, like we were defending the whole time, but somehow still scored 3 tries, just kept in range, kept in range, kept in range, and that is kind of what we focus on. And if Ireland focus so much on just breaking us down and leave holes in the defense, because they have looked defensively vulnerable every now and again. Look at the way that England played, and that is a attack that isn't even firing. Look at the way that South Africa plays, with especially with our new coach coming in, who is an attacking master. That's why he was brought into as our attacking coach. I can't see Ireland winning either one of the 2 games again. And let me just say this again. I don't mean this cocky. It's just the way that Ireland have been playing the past 2 weekends. Could be burnout. Can't be burnt out coming against South Africa. You're going to play in humidity. You're going to play at heavy altitude. So you better tighten your bootlaces, boys. And especially, you know what gives me a bit of confidence? The fact that they didn't dominate the Scottish physically, where
Yeah.
we blasted the Scottish physically in the World Cup. Did they even win a scrum penalty yesterday? 1 or 2, maybe.
No, they didn't. Not that I know. Not that I can
Exactly.
remember.
And you can't
Oh
you
no,
can't
wait,
come to
wait,
South Africa.
they did. They did.
Yeah, but they didn't dominate physically, right? Or
Yeah.
overall. So you
Remember there
can't
was a
come to
yellow
South
card.
Africa and not be physically on top of your game, because that is where we focus. And if you're not physically there, you will be shoved out of the way and we'll do with you what we want to. That's just the point out is you can't come to South Africa and not have physicality. New Zealand's always learned that. That's why they've focused so much on physicality when they play against South Africa. Well, if they play against other teams, they don't focus on it too much. But if you play against South Africa, your scrum has to be there, your maul defense has to be there. That's the 2 most important factors. And I don't see how the Irish match that coming down under
Oh,
to us.
I completely agree. I think the Loftus test is going to be if Ireland can do well at Loftus and still lose the game, but do well, then I'll start feeling nervous for the Durban test. But
Yeah,
if it's a complete whitewash, like let's say a 35-12 victory for South Africa at Loftus, then I can't see Ireland posing any threat whatsoever because Durban will suit the Irish a bit better, but winter, Pretoria, altitude, Loftus crowd. Oh,
yeah.
I was there. I was at the Irish test the last time they played at Loftus, and it was absolutely brutal. I mean, we had terrible players in that Springbok side, and we still hammered them. So, yeah, let's see what happens.
Yeah, and just to end off on Ireland and South Africa, right? I've always said, like, if the first test was in Durban, I would have maybe given them a chance because it's the first test, they will be up for it and stuff. And then I said they'll lose at Loftus, but now the first test is at Loftus, which means they have less chance in the second test because we know if we make mistakes in the first test, we can fix it in the second one. I don't see us losing this second test. Okay, we don't play them twice in a row and lose both. I could see us losing the first one, but when I realized it's at Loftus, I was just like, yeah, I can't see them getting anything from these 2 tests. Now, moving on to the team they played against Scotland, we'll go through them a bit quicker. Overall, thumbs up, thumbs down for their season in the Six Nations.
Thumbs up until that Italy test. Thumbs up until that Italy test. I thought that if they somehow got that try against the French that was clear as day, and they didn't lose the Italy test, then this game could have been the decider for the Six Nations against Ireland. So I'm giving them a massive thumbs up. They were my little dark horse team, and they could be very proud of how they ended this season. Honestly,
Do you think if they won that test match against France, they would have still lost to Italy? Do you think that kind of like broke a bit of momentum going into that Italian test? I know they didn't go out and say, "Listen, okay, we can lose this game because we lost against France." But do you think that was like a momentum killer for them?
I don't think so because if they no, I don't think so. I think that they still wanted to end as high as they could. They still wanted to end above England at all costs. So I think that it wouldn't have made any difference. Personally, I don't think so, and I can't see a Scottish side just giving up like that. So no, I can't see that making a difference.
Yeah, fair enough. And then moving on to their July tests, I'm not sure when they're going, but we heard they're going to America. Obviously, we expect Scotland to smash America. Let's. I mean, what do you even say about it? Are you looking forward to it?
Didn't America beat Scotland the last time they went to America?
Well, I'm not even.
Just
I'm not
think
sure.
the only confirmed name that is going is Duan van der Merwe said he wants to go. I can't see them sending their strongest side. I can't see them sending a side that's going to weaken Edinburgh and
Glasgow.
Glasgow. Wow. So I can't see them doing that. So I think it's gonna be closer than we all think, and then people's gonna think, oh, where's the Scotland? But I don't think they're gonna send the big name players
Yeah,
besides Duan Marwa. So I don't know.
Duan van der Merwe is going to get approached by the NFL. That's why I asked for it. Anyway, moving on from Scotland, thumbs up. Very very good season for them. Obviously, should have got that victory against France, and then if they got it against Italy, that would have been amazing for this final weekend. And then that 17-13 game would have been wow. Who's taking the cup? Moving on to the final game of the weekend, we had France versus England, and for me, game of the weekend, absolutely scintillating rugby. We kind of saw the momentum that England took forward. We kind of saw I wouldn't say the resurgence of France, but they've been looking better. They looked better in the last 20 against Wales. They looked insane in that last 20, to be quite frank. And then this game against England, this is probably the best 80 minutes they've put together throughout this whole tournament. Starting off with France, do they take this forward? Do you think, or do you think they just go back into a slump? Obviously, Dupont will be joining them again. I think this will be great for their momentum going forward.
Yeah, as I discussed in a previous episode, remember I said if they can take their last 20 minutes of their last game and take it into the start of this English game, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with that we all know and love. And then you still said we don't love them, we just know them. That's that I can see that trajectory going up again because that last 20 minutes and the whole 80 minutes of this game against England, that was rugby. That is something we need to admire about the French because yes, they had a terrible tournament, but people aren't going to remember them for how terrible they started. They're going to remember them for how well they finished. So I think it's a massive improvement, and they are definitely on the way up. I feel like they needed another game in the Six Nations. Like there should have been one more game this weekend, and you would have seen the ultimate French side.
Yeah, especially now with some of those guys getting back into form. We saw the absolute class of Damien Penaud yesterday again. Gael Fiku was there playing his best rugby. And then obviously if you add Antoine Dupont there and that Legarec goes back onto the bench, I think Luca has lost his spot now because that Legarec has been on fire since he's come in. Now you add Dupont, Intermark, Ramos goes back to the fullback position. You can see one of the best French teams once again. I think Dupont will be fired up again to play for France, especially having went to the sevens, got a tournament, something that got a trophy, something they haven't done in years. So this will be absolutely massive to them. Moving to Argentina in July, do we see Argentina being any sort of a force to be reckoned with against this French team if those big names come back?
You know what? If you think about 2 years ago, Australia, when France traveled to Australia, they didn't take their names with. I think it's going to be the same case as the Scottish side going to America. I can't see those guys going with, because the French top 14 will be in full flow. I think, actually, I could be wrong, but I don't know, and I also don't. I'm not quite clued up at the moment about Argentina, because I haven't read anything about them. I've seen that they're potentially putting their Super Rugby team back together if the Rebels get kicked out. But other than that, I'm actually not sure, and I can't see. I don't know. Actually, honestly, I don't know.
I think it would be stupid not to send your full strength team, because it will be at the end of their season. That is the end of the season tour for them. Remember, because then it's our
Yeah,
preseason kind of. So if I hate it when teams don't send their strongest team, because it's like you have supporters that go out to see your stars. They pay big money to see your stars playing, and
yeah,
you're playing for your country. It's much bigger than playing your franchise rugby, right? So the top 14 most likely will be done, or at the very, very end of it. And not all teams will still be really involved, right? So it doesn't really matter to those top 14 teams, in my opinion. The same with what we just said about Scotland. If you have any, the Scottish teams aren't going far in the URC. Okay, that's knockout stages if it is. So send your full strength team to America. We talk about growing the sport. How about you take one for the sport and say, listen, we're sending our big names. We're sending the Messi of Scottish rugby. We're sending him to America because that's what the people want to see, right? They don't want to see random guys just running out on the field. So the same with France. Send your strongest team. One team is prepping for the rugby championship, and if you don't care about going to Argentina and winning, then there's no space for you in rugby, in my opinion. Send your strongest team. You won't see teams sending their weakest guys at the end of the tournaments, except for South Africa going to play that one test at Twickenham, because we have to prep for our preseason on the other side of the earth. So you won't see South Africa sending our strongest team to Wales, because that's literally in the knockout stages of our tournament, a bit earlier than the rest, right? That's in June. I think it's the 23rd of June or something. So it's a lot earlier, right? So we're not going to send our strongest guys while we're still playing knockout rugby this side. So it's a bit different. Moving on to the final team, England, also the same as the French. The last 2 weekends has been sensational for them. I've been hammering on Borthwick a bit that when I said, listen, he's not a good coach, but he's not making me eat my words, but it's like he's trying to prove me wrong with these last 2 weekends of performances. Do you think they can take this momentum forward? Obviously, they're playing against New Zealand, so I don't see them winning a test in 2024 again. But yeah, do you think this was kind of what was needed for England, some momentum to go forward?
they 100% needed this momentum, and you hit the nail on the head when you just said that. Because if they go to New Zealand and they like, let's say they lost to Italy this last game, there's going to be zero confidence, zero willpower to even want to get out of bed and face those massive All Black players. So they needed these last 2 weeks, and England can be very lucky. I've said it before. They can be very lucky they have a Ben Earl in that side. That's
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Yeah. The thing is, I'm a bit scared for England, right? Going up against New Zealand, because we know New Zealand's going to be fired up with the new coach, guys fighting for positions and stuff. So the pace of their game will be to a next level, because that's the thing that Robertson has been literally hammering on the whole time. We've seen it in the Super Rugby. You can see the pace of the game there. Do you see England causing any sort of upsets against New Zealand? Well, we know they're not winning in Auckland, but so
Sorry, I just had to mute there. There's a big thunderstorm here, so the thunder is quite loud. Anyway, yeah, I think that if England are smart and they do their proper homework, because I don't think Robinson's going to change too much of his style of play that he did for the last 6 years at the Crusaders, or 5 years, or however many years he was there. If they do their homework, I think the games could be closer than anticipated. I'm personally hoping for an upset, like just one win or a draw or whatever. I can't see it happening, but yeah, I think if they do the homework and they put in the work, I think it could be. Who am I kidding? No, they can't.
I was just thinking, you want England to beat the All Blacks. It should be prestige to beat the All Blacks. Only South Africa is allowed to do it. Okay, Brett, you know this. But overall, England, they'll take a lot of confidence from the last 2 weekends. We have come to the end of the episode, people. If you did like it, remember to subscribe. We love and appreciate you guys as always. And yeah, we are South Africans, and yes, we banter the Six Nations, but the last 2 weekends, we can't banter it because it was exciting. We were glued to our TV screens watching it. And if the whole Six Nations were just like the last 2 weekends, wow, it would have been absolutely insane. Brett, do you have any final words to the people of the world?
Yeah, only thing I want to say is hit that bell, because we post 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you get notified when our videos are up, and they're up at the same time every single time. Massive thanks to everybody that has subscribed and that does watch to the end. I mean, lots of people, they say, when I talk to people, they say, I only watched till the 30th minute, and then it was a 35-minute episode. I mean, 5 more minutes not going to hurt you.
Yeah. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you very much for joining us once again. Episode number 51. Ridiculous. 52, sorry. We'll see you next time.
Okay, bye.